Hello again. This is the fifth quarter show Seasons, and my name's Rick Samprin. Ready to take another spin back in time and learn about another intriguing year of Hamilton Tiger Cats football? Great. For all the new viewers, welcome to this channel. Thanks for checking it out, and please consider subscribing. Seasons is a weekly feature during the Canadian Football League's off-season that showcases some of Hamilton's most iconic years of football, and a new episode drops every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. There's another off-season feature on this channel called Legends, with a new edition every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Legends chronicles the careers of this city's best players, coaches, and front office personnel. In last week's episode of Seasons, we learned that the Tiger Cats were sold by Hamilton businessman Michael DeGroot to Toronto Maple Leafs owner Harold Ballard in 1978 for $1.3 million. In the early 1970s, Ballard tried to bring a second CFL team to Toronto, but was denied. He even offered to buy the Argos, but was turned away. 2 years after he finally got his hands on the Ticats, the team lost in the 1980 Grey Cup, and followed that up with another first-place finish, but no playoff success. In episode 18 of the fifth quarter show Seasons, we have made it to the year 1984. It was 4 years since Terry Fox's heroic Marathon of Hope. 3 years after the Canadarm was first placed on the space shuttle. In 1982, the Edmonton Eskimos won their unprecedented fifth straight Grey Cup victory. And a year later, computers first entered classrooms across the country. Here in Hamilton, the Central Public Library and Farmers Market opened in 1980. The Convention Center opened a year later. Bob Morrow claimed the first of his 6 election victories in 1982, and major renovations at Gore Park were stopped by citizens' protests in 1983. Entering the 1982 CFL season, the Ticats were coming off back-to-back first-place finishes in the East, but they lost in the Grey Cup in 1980, as I mentioned, against Edmonton, and fell to Ottawa in the East Final the following season. Despite Frank Cush's 11-4-1 record in his only year as a CFL head coach, he was dismissed, and Bud Riley was promoted from defensive coordinator. Riley had previous coaching experience in Winnipeg in the 1970s and was also an assistant with Saskatchewan and with Toronto as well. 1982 was significant for another reason, as it marked the end of the Montreal Alouettes, which folded on May 13th when owner Nelson Scalabania could no longer pay the bills. But a day later, the CFL granted the franchise rights to Montreal Expos owner Charles Bromford. The team was named the Montreal Concords because Scalabania refused to give up the Alouettes nickname and logo. The Ticats went 8-7-1 in 1982 and were bounced in the East semifinal by Ottawa. The Concords, by the way, were a dismal 2-14. Hamilton's roster had some really good pieces. Linebacker Ben Zambiazzi was an all-star again. Halfback David Shaw earned all-star status, as did receiver Keith Baker. The young defense included sophomore defensive end Grover Covington and rookie defensive lineman Mike Walker and David Sauve. And the offense was highlighted by quarterback Tom Clements, receiver Rocky DiPietro, and running back Rufus Crawford, while veteran kicker Bernie Ruoff was splitting the uprights with great regularity. Despite the talent on the field, Hamilton struggled in 1983. Riley was fired as head coach halfway through his second season, and his replacement was director of player personnel and former Ticats assistant Al Bruno. Clements was traded to Winnipeg for fellow quarterback Dieter Brock, and Hamilton ended the year with a record of 5-10-1. The Cats beat Ottawa in the East semifinal before losing to Toronto in the Eastern finale. The only Ticat to be named an All-Star in 1983 was first-year running back Johnny Shepard, who rushed for 1,069 yards, added 583 receiving yards, and scored 5 total touchdowns, and was named the CFL's most outstanding rookie. In 1984, the CFL granted a conditional expansion team to Halifax, but the Atlantic Schooners never got off the ground after the ownership failed to secure a financing deal for a stadium. The Ticats were again a sub-500 football team, going 6-9-1, but that was good enough for second place in the weak East Division. Ruoff was the team's only All-Star, earning his second career nod. Come playoff time, however, the Ticats seemed to click. Hamilton dumped Montreal 17-11 in the East semifinal, and a week later they edged Toronto 14-13 in the Eastern final. It set up a date in the Grey Cup against the 11-4-1 Blue Bombers, and the first Hamilton-Winnipeg final since 1965. It was the first Grey Cup that was ever played in Edmonton, and it was a chilly -11. It was also the first CFL final to be played on natural grass since 1970. Brock and the Ticats stormed out to a 14-0 lead in the first quarter and led 17-3 in the second before the wheels started to fall off. Clements and the Bombers rattled off 44 unanswered points and pasted Hamilton 47-17. The Ticats' Grey Cup winning drought had been extended to a dozen years, the longest it had been in franchise history. Was Ballard's Maple Leaf curse now spreading to Hamilton? Could Bruno get his players to reach their potential as a team? Those questions and more will be answered in next week's edition of the Fifth Quarter Show Seasons. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I love reading your comments, so if you can, please share your memories of the Ticats in the early 80s. And whether you're a longtime subscriber or a new one, tell your friends about the Fifth Quarter Show. There's lots of room for others to join. Until next time, Oski Wee Wee.